Hi, it's Anthony from CarPlayLife.com, and today we're looking at the multimedia video box from JoyeAuto. So this is a plug and play standalone media box that allows you to run Android operating system on a factory or aftermarket CarPlay display. It will not allow Apple CarPlay to work alongside it. It simply replaces your Apple CarPlay display with its own interface that's built on the Android 7.0 OS platform. This frees up your iPhone and Android smartphone, but it will still be needed if you wish to download or stream from any of the Android apps that you install on it. In the box, you get the multimedia video box itself. There is a USB-C to USB-A braided cable that's roughly about 20 centimeters or 8 inches. You also get a GPS kit, which includes a GPS receiver, an antenna, and a powered cable that you plug into your car system. And there is an English install manual to help you get up and running. The MMB is quite chunky. It measures 10.5 centimeters long by 6.5 centimeters wide by 2.5 centimeters tall. It almost looks like a Raspberry Pi box, but its external case carries a premium feel to it that looks great. With its Go Faster stripes, side cooling radiator, its silver MMB branding on top, and a discrete power and status LED light that displays underneath the logo. And on the back, you have kind of a carbon fiber material kind of texture on the back too. On one side of the box, there is a USB-C port, which is used with the supplied braided USB cable to connect to your CarPlay system's USB-A port. On the opposite side of the box, there is a USB-A port, which is used for either plugging in your smartphone to charge it, or you can insert a USB drive to play back locally stored HD movies or music on your CarPlay display. You can also plug in a USB receiver into the bottom of the MMB. You can use a remote control such as this Air Mouse remote control that features a built-in keyboard on the back. A remote like this would help your experience if you do not have a touchscreen CarPlay display, or it can also be used to have a faster way to control the MMB's menu interface. And you can use the keyboard to help you enter long sentences in the messaging apps, or you can enter long search strings in a browser or addresses in a navigation app. Inside the MMB is a 4-core processor. It has a Mali T720 GPU. There's 4 GB of RAM and 32 gigs of storage for Android applications that you download onto it. The bundled GPS kit is required for an accurate GPS signal in any installed Android navigation app. If you plan on using the MMB on a Porsche or Audi system, it will not come with this GPS kit, as you do not need it for these vehicles. Installing this GPS kit isn't necessarily for the MMB to operate, but it is required if you want to use any of the Android apps on your CarPlay display that requires GPS tracking, such as a navigation app. Installation is very simple. You take the MMB and plug it into the same USB port that you would connect your iPhone Lightning cable into. After around 15 to 30 seconds, the MMB interface will display instead of the CarPlay interface from your iPhone. If the MMB interface doesn't immediately show up, you just have to go to the CarPlay option on your factory system or aftermarket stereo and select it. So let's jump into the car now to get the MMB installed and see what it can do. So we're in the VW with the MMB box, and we're going to plug this in and I'll show you how it all works on the CarPlay display. So let's just dive in. So we're currently on the main menu here. I'm going to plug this into my Lightning port. And this will start flashing green. So this is booting up now. Roughly takes about 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds. For me, it's about 30 because my Alpine is a little bit old now. And it's now fully lit. So now boot up into the user interface of the MMB. This is the MMB interface. So this is like a layer of Android OS underneath. You can see our time hasn't been configured yet, so it's completely bare bones. We've got some apps that we've previously moved ahead but this will show basically 9 applications on the front screen, and all the remaining will be in this more apps section, where you can then browse any other Android app that you decide to download from the Google Play Store. A home button here and a Google Assistant. You've got some 3 icons here you can't quite see because of the sunlight. You've got like a now playing screen. It's not that well formatted, but it does the job. I would probably personally wouldn't have liked this here at all. I would just like to have the date, maybe weather if it's downloaded from my phone. That would be nice too. So just to remind you, this is not coming from my phone at all. This is not coming from an Android device. It's purely coming from this box that I've plugged into the same CarPlay port of my VW. So if you've got CarPlay, you buy this box, you plug it in, and then once you've installed it, you get all the applications. And the ones you probably would want to know about is things like YouTube. This will basically allow you to watch films or any video on YouTube without a delay, because it's coming through the stereo speakers itself, so you're not using AirPlay or wireless streaming. You can go to anything related to your account here if you wanted to. You can explore, do subscriptions that you're not signed up to. This is basically the Android app for YouTube. You can't get any better than that, really. So it'll do everything you wanted it to do through Android generally. What we'll do a search, and you can use obviously the built-in keyboard with the touchscreen. If you haven't got that, you can use a remote control perhaps. So CarPlay Live, here we are, and I'll just play any old video and give it some audio. Hi, it's Anthony from CarPlayLife.com, and today we're looking at... So you can see the sync is perfect once this audio goes. So this is in sync. You don't have to worry about air streaming. You're running it directly off the MMB box itself, playing YouTube on your CarPlay display. If it's touchscreen, happy days, because you've got everything under your finger that you can actually interact with, such as pause, next video, and things like that. So that's a real bonus here when you're in the car. If you haven't got a touchscreen display, it might be a little bit more fiddly for you, because you have to use the dial, or you can actually get a USB remote, and you can use it like a wand, and then select various options. So that's YouTube. And to get home, you've got this kind of like floating menu. So if it's in the way of anything related to the UI for the Android app that you're specifically using, you can just tap and drag it where else you want it to be, so it's not in the way of interacting with any particular buttons. Again, that will return you back in the app itself, or you can just hit that and you'll go home completely back to the main menu. Netflix. I've previously signed into my Netflix account, so you won't have to see me sign in here, but it's an Android version of the Netflix app, so it will have any restrictions or the way of functionality it works as you'd expect on the actual Android app itself. And again, it's as you'd expect. It's formatted to whatever screen size you have your resolution set to. It basically plays across your mobile data. So again, skipping between different interfaces and so on. And you can also scrub, which is nice to see on a CarPlay display, because you don't really get that in CarPlay itself. So that's Netflix, and we can go back here, and you got all the films. You can do search, you can use probably the voice assistant to navigate to certain things, but that's Netflix in a nutshell. We got obviously Google Maps. You'll need the GPS dongle for that, unless you're in an Audi or a Porsche, where it will run from your car GPS instead. I would just quickly show you this, but it's basically the Android version of Google Maps. And because it's using my Wi-Fi data, it's probably locating me through my internet. So navigation might be a little bit hit and miss unless you actually use the box provided. But again, set your destination, it'll map it out for you as you would expect. Obviously, if you're logged into your own account, you can bring up past locations and favorites, and it will get you everything close to hand, which is always a bonus. So that's Google Maps. Phonecast is if you want to use AirPlay. We'll go over that in a minute. USB drive, we can plug in a USB stick and play audio, video. BT phone is literally as you'd expect, Bluetooth connection to dial up people through the actual MMB itself. So that's quite handy. BT Music, if you want to stream music from your phone to the box itself, that's covered as well. So that's quite handy too. Here you got themes. You can choose which theme to upgrade your background of your actual display, and you can just literally select it, apply it, and then when you return, you've got that background image instead. Car will take us back to the actual system menu. So you can just tap that and you'll go back to the main menu interface of your actual car. Tapping CarPlay will bring you back in there again. And then more apps. You've got the Google Play Store, which will basically load the default stock Google Play Store and allow you to browse through apps, games, movies. You can then download anything, Clash of Clans, you can play on your screen if you wanted to, apps. You can get like iPlayer and things like that and watch that on your CarPlay display. And you can go to Google Movies and download the latest movies and watch them off your display as well. And you've got Cleanup, which is like a built-in memory cleaner in case any of the Android apps are hogging memory, slowing down the system. You can just click that and it will actually clean out any memory issues, close down file applications and so on. The Settings app is where you would actually pair your iPhone or your Android hotspot, and the MMB will then connect to that, and then it will come to life and allow you to browse the internet-based applications that you might actually want to use with this box. Setting the time, 24-hour. Once you actually connect to the internet, it will actually set your localized time correctly. Accessibility options, restoring factory settings, general settings as if you want to have alerts whether you should be driving with this functionality or not, in case you want to be reminded about that. Setting third-party application text size and stuff like that, which is also quite handy. And then setting back to factory mode is also there too. Back into more apps, you've got the Google Assistant obviously, and it will use the car audio input, and I can say what's the weather like today?
It'll be partly cloudy, with a high of 11 and a low of 8. Right now it's 9 and mostly cloudy.
Yep, so that's that. Obviously, if you didn't see already, the sort of home screen menu will disappear after a period, which is quite handy. Version's also another stock area where you can actually see what OS version you're running and the resolution of your display. The CPU, what's currently running, which is a quad-core CPU running at 1.8 gigahertz and a Mali T720 GPU, and there's 4 gig of onboard RAM and 32 gig of onboard storage to support anything like files you might download, Netflix downloads and so on. And in here it will tell you how to upgrade. VLC comes on board as well, so you can actually play any videos and audio from the menu area here, and you can basically play your music or videos from your USB storage. Chrome browser, obviously, is the default Android browser for Android. It's as you would expect. You can just literally throw up a URL as you would do in Google Chrome, and then you can just literally browse any website that's responsive, ideally for on your device. So you could probably use this to look at restaurants or anything else that you need to access if you want to have a bigger screen rather than using your mobile phone. That's an option, but that's the Chrome browser. If you've got kids in the car, you could have YouTube Kids, kid-friendly content, and have that playing in your car as and when your CarPlay display.
The 5 parts of Beast Boy's personality seem to be more or less the same, sir.
So obviously you don't want to have this running whilst driving. That's very, very clear and very, very obvious. And you don't really want this playing even if you've got someone in your passenger seat or in the back who can see this display. If you're caught driving with this playing, you'll get fined, no doubt, by the authorities. So you really want to be careful about using any sort of functionality with video in the car. Spotify, as you'd expect, this is the Android version of Spotify. Once logged in and you've got your mobile data all hooked up to the MMB, you can then just literally play your Spotify content, which is always quite handy. This doesn't seem to want to boot up. It's taking a while here. So again, you can see the interface. You have to move this out of the way. It will go away afterwards. But here you go, you can just interface here, and you can make it go full screen if you want to, and then navigate between tracks. It won't use your wheel controls, sadly. That's quite frustrating. If you want to use this as a full-blown player, your wheel controls will not control this system, sadly. So you're going to have to use the touchscreen or any sort of remote if you don't have touchscreen ability on your CarPlay display. So that's Spotify. Gmail, obviously you can log in and actually read your Gmail. Twitch, you can sign into your Twitch account using the Android app and actually be able to watch streams on Twitch if that's your thing. Again, with TikTok, that's the Android TikTok app. This is exciting. You can play Candy Crush on your display. So as long as the Android app has got a good formatting for any screen size, this will be ideal use for you. So here we are, Candy Crush. And all the audio comes through your car speakers. So you can see full-blown Candy Crush multi-touch is all here. It looks great if your display is nice and big, and you can access all the sort of basic game content for your system, which is super handy. And then you can just literally play Candy Crush in your car, which is not something you can say for any CarPlay system. But obviously you don't want to be playing this whilst you're driving, because that would be utter crazy. But it just shows you if you're waiting in a car, you want to pass the time, you can fire up the MMB onto your CarPlay display and play Candy Crush on a bigger screen with nice noise through your car speakers. And that is Candy Crush on your CarPlay display, which is nuts. Google is Google. That will just give you, I think that's just the Google search part of the app itself. BBC Weather, you could have your weather app all sorted out as well. So you can have your local weather attached to your car as well. Again, if you've got your mobile phone, you've got this anyway, really. So this might not be the functionality that you're after. And you've got Phonecast, which is the ability to cast your phone screen to the display. This, as I said, is a bit hit and miss. You kind of, I never really get a good working way of doing it on iOS. But if you're on an Android display and you just want to cast the phone to the display from your mobile, because you've got it there and then, you can do that. So for USB drive, we're going to plug in a USB stick. We've got a USB stick loaded with sample files, and then we're going to literally plug in this USB stick and have it connect to the content. So we've got lots of different codec based compression formats and files, just to show you. So we've got MOV sample here, which plays totally fine. MKV, totally fine. We've done M4V, let's try AVI. AVI plays fine. You can size the window. That's also playing in the background. We've done MKV, high definition version. That seems to cope quite well. Audio, we got FLAC sample. Which plays fine. Got wave sample. That plays totally fine. MP3, standard, it should work without any problem. AAC, that works totally fine too. And you can't show pictures, so it's just basically movies and videos. So that will actually allow you to play the content from a USB stick, and you wouldn't really have to have your phone connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot. It would just come from the MMB straight to the display. So that's like a good touch as well. This panel here will just show you what you're currently playing. We're playing the music still, and you can actually interact with that and skip through the tracks if you want quick access to the content. And you just go back in here, and that will load your go back to the same area as well. So that's pretty much it for the MMB interface. It really comes down to how you want to use this device. And just to quickly show you, you can actually control where these apps appear on the screen. So say we don't want themes, we can bring that down here, and we can have the Google Play Store took its place, because you have to always have 9 apps on the home screen. And again, if you want YouTube to be front and center, you can drag them around, and that's a nice way as well of bringing the apps front and center. So we want Spotify to be in here too, front and center, and then Netflix in there too, and that's it. And then we just go home, and then we've got what we've just added to the home screen, nice and easy access. And you can have any service you sort of currently signed to. So things like Prime Video you can have. If you don't use Spotify and you use Apple Music or anything like that, you can actually install the Android app for it and just sign into your account, and you're away. So that's the MMB in a nutshell. Let's go back to the studio and wrap up our thoughts. So you've seen us install the MMB and taken a look through its user interface and used a couple of Android apps that you can run on it. I think we've barely scratched the surface at the number of Android apps you can use on your CarPlay display. I covered some of the big hitters though, including YouTube, to browsing Chrome, playing music in Spotify, and even playing a game of Candy Crush on my CarPlay display. So you can tell using the MMB can open up so many possibilities in the car, but obviously many of them are not suitable whilst you're driving. The MMB was able to display all the Android app operations well enough on my Alpine CarPlay display, including the ability to tap and swipe slide bars in video and music players, and being able to play touch responsive games such as Candy Crush without any issues. The onboard CPU and memory seemed to cope with most of the operations I gave it, but I found that multitasking between apps and closing them isn't supported that well. For example, I couldn't close down Spotify without closing all the other applications running in memory. I would have liked to be able to manually select certain active apps and close them individually, just like I can do on an Android device. I found the floating home assistant and return navigation menu a decent compromise between reducing the whole screen to displaying everything in full screen. And I would have also liked to see a permanent fixed bar option in the settings menu with a toggle to move it between the side or at the bottom of the screen. Text input was okay on the touchscreen display using the Android OS keyboard, and it was made a lot faster using the optional Air Mouse remote control with its QWERTY keyboard at the back. But once I've logged onto most of my installed application accounts, keyboard entry wasn't as much of a burden after that. If you have a vehicle that only comes with Apple CarPlay, but you own an Android device, or if you want to view videos such as YouTube or Netflix on your CarPlay display, then the MMB from JoyeAuto might be a decent solution for you. If you plan on using it with an Apple iPhone, however, you have to ask yourself, what will this MMB offer you that CarPlay simply doesn't? There are a number of issues that Apple's gated iOS creates. The first issue I faced was creating a reliable hotspot. At times, I would disconnect from the MMB and I had to toggle it on and off again for it to reconnect. This is a common issue I faced when using the personal hotspot feature on iOS, and it isn't necessarily an issue with the MMB itself. The second issue I faced is if you plan on using the MMB's AirPlay feature. For me, I just could not get it to work. I could see the MMB's AirPlay option come up on my iPhone, but once I selected it and I tried to play any content, nothing would show up on the display. I don't see the MMB as being a replacement for Apple CarPlay. It's more for someone who feels they are limited by the CarPlay platform in their vehicle, or for someone who wants to swap CarPlay for a fully fledged Android OS system to access more complex applications and functionality whilst in the car. But with this comes a lot of compromises that you have to manage and deal with, which is just what Apple's simplistic CarPlay does so well. Being able to run Android OS in the car seems like a great idea, but I've realised its mobile tablet focused interface is far from perfect on a car touchscreen. It needs a simplified layer on top, which is what Android Auto should be, but that isn't great either. And Android Auto also comes with its own limitations, just like CarPlay does. I think with a few improvements to the MMB software and with a little work to improve the user interface for the car, I could see this product and its software evolving into its own platform, featuring custom Android apps that would make it an alternative platform that could even compete with CarPlay and Android Auto itself, just if it's done right. You can buy the multimedia video box for $288 at this time of recording, and using the coupon code CarPlayLife will get you free shipping with your order. I'm sure we will start to see more products like this release in the future, but the multimedia video box from JoyeAuto is off to a great start for anyone seeking an alternative infotainment experience for their CarPlay display. Alright, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give us a like and consider subscribing to all my future content, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.